Yugi's legendary deck is being reprinted on the 27th of May. This gives us some of the most iconic cards used in the anime, but what card from this set leads to the strongest and most competitive deck? This is going to be the start of a mini-series around Yugi's legendary decks. Looking at the card list, I divided the cards into 9 main archetypes. These archetypes are Exodia, the God cards, Gadgets, Blackluster Soldier, Buster Blader, Dark Magician, Magnet Warriors, Silent Magician and Swordsman, and Gaia the Fierce Knight. The challenge is to build the most competitive deck for each of these archetypes to see which archetype comes out on top.
It's time to do.
So guys, we're going over to our deck profile of the Gaia the Fierce Knight deck. It's an interesting one. I'll let you know, guys know it's quite interesting. This is obviously our penultimate episode of this series from our mini-series with Yugi's legendary decks. And we're going to focus on Gaia the Fierce Knight today. It's going second build, but I'll show you what we've got. We've got 3 Gaia the Magical Knight. This is your starter card that allows you to search. Not allowed to search, but it allows you to special summon Curse of the Cursed Dragon from your hand. But if it's in the graveyard as well, you can also summon it that way. So it's important to see this card. That's why we're playing. You could play Dragon Shrine in this deck, so you can send Curse of the Cursed Dragon to the graveyard to make it an easier way to get it out. We're also playing 1 Soldier Gaia the Fierce Knight. It tributes a level 7 fusion dragon monster, which is a little bit of interaction if you need it to stay on the field. And it can turn a opponent's monster defense position. It's just here for another name basically, and it allows you to get an extra spiral fusion target. We're playing Origin Gaia Fierce Knight as well. This is a graveyard effect which does occasionally come up, where you target 1 card on field whose attack is different than their original, and you can turn it back to its original, which is cool if you need to use it on your opponent's cards when you've got a big body on the field with like 5200 damage, 5200 attack even. So it allows you to get more damage onto the field. So it does come up as also another name for Spiral Fusion to attempt to target. So you go into your fusions. Obviously you're going to need, or that's all you're planning to get is. So with Curse of a Dragon and Origin, you can sort of do that. I was playing Artillery Catapult Turtle as well. I keep calling it Cannon Turtle as well because because it's your other starter. If you haven't seen Gaia the Magical Knight in hand or Curse of a Cursed Dragon, this card allows you to see those cards. You can buy Tribute in, you can get Magical Knight onto field, and you can get its effect going. If you've got Curse of a Cursed Dragon in hand with Artillery Catapult Turtle, allows you. It's another way to start, which is really cool. Obviously, it sees a lot of play in Armored Dragon decks as well because you can get level 5 onto the field really quickly, especially with Armored Dragon Thunder new support. So that's the interaction there. We're playing 3 Nibiru as well. We need to play high impact cards in this deck, so we're playing the highest impact hand trap cards that we could find. So 3 Nib. 3 Gamma and 1 Driver, of course. You want to play the highest impact cards you can because you obviously want to be going second. So that's why Nibiru is key in this deck. It's basically a 1 card FTK. And Gamma is just important because it allows you to get some board presence as well in your opponent's turn. But it also impacts the cards really well. We're also playing some staples. This is the first staple, playing 3 Lightning Storm, which goes really well with Dark Run No More. Lightning Storm's a crazy card. It's obviously getting a reprint as well in the upcoming set of King's Court. Collector's Rare. I'm not sure of the other rarity. I'm not sure if it's being released in another rarity, which is an interesting idea. But Lightning Storm is a crazy card. You know, it's basically Harpy's Feather Duster and Regeki built into 1 card. So that has to be played. 3 Spiral Fusion, of course. If you use it, you gains 2,600 attack, and it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters per turn. So that's pretty cool. X-Drive, of course, to dig deeper into our deck. You could play Prosperity. I quite like X-Drive because we don't really need the X deck because you obviously. Unless you're really unlucky and banish your Gaia cards, it's always going to be live. Dark Run No More, obviously going second variant. 1 Terraforming to search for our 5 field spells. Obviously playing Galloping Gaia and Gateway to Chaos. 2 Ultra Polymerizations. If we can use this with cards we've got on the field, that's the only downside, they have to be on the field. But we can get into Red Ice Flare Metal Dragon, which does come up, I will tell you. Red Ice Flare Metal Dragon in this deck was really cool. I really enjoyed using it. You don't get to use it too often because it's just a generic level 7, so it doesn't come up. Foolish Burial, that's it for the Curse of Dragon. Spiral Spear Strike because it's searchable from Sky Galloping Champion, which is it's cool interaction. It allows you to draw 2 cards, discard 1 card. Then we've got Galloping Gaia. This allows you to search. If you've got a Gaia card, it allows you to get the Dragon. If you've got the Dragon in hand, it allows you to get the Gaia. so there's a way to get the resources into your hand really quickly, which is always a good way. It's always a struggle if you don't see the cards, but there's always a way to get the cards to hand with these field spells, and when you've got extra as well. So obviously with the 2 gateway to chaos allows you to just get a Gaia monster to hand, so you can get origin or magical depending on your preference of what you want in the hand there. So we'll move over to the extra deck, obviously playing 3 Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion. This is one that changes your opponent's monsters to defense position. And with Spiral Spear Strike as well, this would be the card that allows you to draw 2 cards and discard 1. So this is a really cool card. Obviously you're going to make variants of these two. This one's I think the better option to OTK. The other ones are better because it will allows you to have some sort of interruption if you're going first, but also it also gains the 2,600 attack. So it's up to you. I like both of the cards. They both work in different scenarios. But I do like this one. Obviously, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make it gain 2,600 attack as well. So it can go up to like 7,800. So the card's kind of cracked. Omega as well, because if you can activate Gamma on your turn, obviously we need to play 1 Omega just so we can get into it with a driver. The 2 Red Ice Flare Metal Dragon, generic level 7. Really cool card. The effect damage is really cool. It actually comes up in this deck quite often, so it's really nice interaction. Not a card that you see too often in decks right now. Not many level 7 decks running around, but this I really enjoy the card. Master of Blades as well doesn't often come up actually, because you could either go into Red Ice Flare, Big Eye. Who doesn't love Big Eye? It doesn't see much play anymore, but it used to. Obviously, we go into Unicorn Phoenix and Lambda as well because we're playing the Gap package. And then we've got IP Masquerader, of course, because it's just generic. This is just extravagance fodder, basically. But yeah, this is the deck profile, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll move over into some games right now, and I'll talk you through what I expect of the deck and how the deck actually works. Let me know if you enjoy it. Let's crack on into some games. So, guys, we're going to go into the episode right now. They'll activate Rotor right now, and then we'll get a Stratos, and the Stratos will activate its effect, but we'll meet that with the Gamma immediately. We do not want Stratos' effect to go through. Driver onto the field, they'll pass turn there. What can we do? We'll draw into a charging Gaia here, so we'll activate that. Being able to search a Gaia of Magical Knight, which is a piece we're missing. We'll get Gaia of Magical Knight onto the field, and we'll get Curse of Dragon also onto the field. Get a Spiral Fusion hand, we'll activate Spiral Fusion. We'll go into the Galloping Knight, that'll do 5,200 damage, but obviously from there we can't do much more. They'll draw into a Hero Lives, which will immediately meet with the effect, losing 2,600 attack. From there, they'll go into Pharas. From Pharas, obviously, we'll get increase with when get rid of a Pharas, get onto the field with increase. We'll get Vion, and then Vion should add polymerization to hand. And from there, they'll go into Cross Sky, and we'll get Mali onto the field. But with Mali on the field, we'll hit with Nib. Just trying to prevent any more players coming through, but we'll get Mali onto field and we'll get Shadow Mist. We'll go into the battle phase. They'll hit for 1,000, but that's literally looks like all we can do. We'll go into Escudero here, which isn't card you see too often. But here we've still got our starter card, which is really good because we've got Artillery Catapult Cannon, which is our backup plan. Getting the Magical Knight, and the Magical Knight will activate and getting Curse of Dragon from the graveyard for us. Getting into a Spiral Fusion again. We'll go into the secondary Gaia Fusion here. Which will get 5,200 attack. Spiral Spear Strike comes onto the field, and then that will be game for. Going into game 2 here, it looks like we're playing maybe Evil Eye here. They'll set up a card and pass, and that will do for them. We drew into quite a good hand here, so we'll activate Extravagance, drawing 2 cards. Get in charge of Gaia onto the field as well now, so we can search for our Cursed Dragon. We'll activate Magical Knight, which will get met with a Droplet, which is interesting, but it doesn't matter because we've got Spiral Fusion. And we're going to Magical Dragon Champion. From there we'll do 5,200 damage, but that will do for us. They'll draw into Extravagance as well. And then they'll draw the 2, they'll activate Raigeki, which obviously is going to get rid of us. We'll try and use the effect of Gaia of Magical Knight, but it doesn't work obviously because we've activated Raigeki. But then they'll summon an Evil Eye, and we'll meet that with a Gamma, immediately destroying that monster, and they'll set 1 and pass, leading it to us. Oh, we drew into Artillery Catapult Cannon, which is really huge for us because we can get Magical Knight and we can get Curse of the Cursed Dragon onto the field, which will then get us to Spiral Fusion. But it's alright because we've got Ultra Poly as well. Activating Ultra Poly, we will then get into our we'll get all our materials back. We'll go into Phoenix just because we don't know what that set card was. discard Infusion, and we'll hit with Phoenix and Gaia the Magical Champion, destroying it. Going into game 3 now, it looks like we're playing a meta right now because we're going to play an Eldritch matchup. They'll special summon the Eldritch. They'll set 2 and pass, which is a pretty standard turn. But we've got a crazy hand right now, so we're activating Extravagance again. Banishing for 6, activating Foolish Burial here, sending the Cursed Dragon, activating Charging Gaia because we'll get an extra Gaia monster here. Get a Magical Knight onto the field now, we'll get the Graveyard Curse of the Cursed Dragon. Getting Spiral Fusion, but sorry, because we've got Ultra Poly as well. Getting the Magical Knight and activating Curse of the Cursed Dragon's Graveyard effect to negate and make it so our card can't be targeted. Activating Ultra Poly again. We'll get all our monsters back onto the field. We'll go into Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon and we'll activate Spiral Fusion, getting the Galloping Dragon Champion onto the field. Activating Spiral Spear Strike here as well. We'll hit him over both Eldritches here for pretty good damage right now. And then we'll attack with Red Eyes Flare Metal Fusion, and this is putting them on a timer right now. If they activate any sort of effects, immediately activate Elixir, and Red Eyes Flare will trigger, and we'll win the game with Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. Incredible card because it puts them on a timer. Going into this game as well, looks like we're playing the new cards from King's Court. We'll activate Gamma here on the I think it's Joker's Knight. We'll normal summon Imperial Bowler, which gets Queen's Knight and gets King's Knight, but obviously doesn't do much from there. With this, we'll go into our turn, and we've got a good hand here. Obviously, Dark Run No More will do nothing for us right now because it's we're playing vanillas. But we get another Queen's Knight on the field, and then with the effect, we'll get King's Knight as well. We'll activate Charging Guy here, and we'll get the Magical Knight, and we've got Curse of Dragon in hand already, so we can get Spiral Spear Strike, Spiral Fusion straight to our hand. Going into the Galloping Dragon Champion, we'll activate Spiral Spear Strike here. We'll hit over everything there, as the walls has not done much for him. And we're going to be short here, so what are we going to do? You already know. Red Eyes Flare Metal comes out on field. They'll activate an effect. It's just pure Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon has won us another game. Incredible card. Coming up again, we're going to play Heroes again, which is really good for us because obviously we've got Nibs. We did have a first turn play there, but with Nib, you know that we're going to be able to activate it, so it's just sort of baiting out what we're going to do. We had no idea we were playing Heroes at the time, but you've got the idea the fact that meta now is playing more than 5 summons. So we're just sitting on the Nib waiting for it to become live, and there it is, it becomes live straight away. Nib comes onto the field. We'll activate Absolute Zero's effect to destroy it, and we'll go into Elemental Hero Core here. That's alright because we've got our play right now. We even draw into the Spiral Fusion as well. We get Origin to hand as well, which is really cool for us because this will come up in this duel. We'll activate Fusion to get to Magical Dragon Champion. Getting rid of the Nibiru token, which can be interesting. We'll go into Big Eye here to steal the core. We'll head into battle phase, and we'll do 2,700 damage. Obviously with heroes, they always have a play. So we'll go into Blazeman here. They'll get Polly, they'll activate Polly, and they'll go into Gaia, and obviously they'll target and get more attack. But this is where Origin comes in play because we can banish it from our graveyard and they will get their original attack, meaning that from there we win the game because we can just go into Gaia of Magical Knight and go into Curse of a Cursed Dragon, go into Spiral Fusion, go into our play, and then 5,200 damage straight to the face, easy as that. Some weaknesses of the deck as we always do. Gaia the Fierce Knight deck profile this week. So let's crack on with it. Let's go straight into the strengths and weaknesses. We can start with the strengths as always. The hand trap package you can play. Obviously we played Nib and Gamma. You will want to play the high impact, which is really cool. Obviously a few of the decks that we usually play on this series haven't allowed us to play hand traps because of consistency, but this is one that you could almost see in like a not meta game but as a rogue tier deck because it allows you to play such high impact cards. A Red Eyes Flare timer here we've got because you will likely get a lot of damage onto the board, and if you can use Ultra Polymerization to get 2 level 7s onto the field, Red Eyes Flare puts such a timer on your opponent because it's like we had 2 games today where the opponent got down to like 100 life points and we got Red Eyes Flare and won the game. It just puts such a cool interaction being able to win with Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon because 500 burn damage per effect is sort of crazy when you're dealing like 5,800 damage per turn, but they can only activate a certain amount of effects per turn, and Red Eyes Flare really puts a right schedule on that. There's multiple ways to start with deck. Obviously you want to see Gaia the Magical Knight, but if you don't, you've got like Galloping Gaia, Gateway to Chaos, and Artillery Catapult Turtle. It allows you to get your starter cards always on the go. So you can, if you don't see one, you can always get the other, especially with Galloping Gaia. Curse of a Cursed Dragon graveyard effects basically a Dark Ruler No More for your turn, which is really cool. If you've used Spiral Fusion, it sent Curse of a Cursed Dragon with it, which you will have because that's the best way to get into like Gaia the Magical Knights of Dragons and Sky Galloping Dragon Champion. It's really cool because it allows you to Dark Ruler No More your opponent's monsters, which allows you to go into be able to turn your opponent's like non-targeted cards into defense position because now they're negated. So it's really cool. The staples do save the deck. You can play a lot of good staples. You could play maybe a trap heavy deck like with some like trap trick shenanigans as well, which is really cool. So there's a few options for the deck. That's why that's there. You can board clear because obviously we're playing Lightning Storm, Dark Ruler No More, and you've got double attacks with Spiral Fusion. So there's a few ways to clear the board. Obviously Spiral Fusion double attack that is here along with board clear, but it also almost allows you to OTK if your opponent's got monsters. There's no huge loss of resources for the deck. The cards search for each other. So if you start off with like Foolish Burial and then you have Gaia the Magical Knight, you're able to get like almost full what you would like to get onto field. You're able to get a fusion boss monster out onto field, and you've basically used 2 cards because Gaia the Magical Knight will get from Curse of the Cursed Dragon from the graveyard. So there's not a huge loss of resources, which is really cool because that allows you to keep your high impact cards in hand. Obviously going second cards on here as well, because obviously going second cards right now are kind of cracked like Lightning Storm and Dark Ruler No More. So if going having a truly going second deck is sort of cool right now because there's not many that allow you to just go second. Going first seems to be a better option to build with big boards, but this deck does not care about that. But we'll move on to weaknesses. Obviously, since it's going second, the deck can't really go first. The only interruption really going first is Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, losing 2,600 attack to pop a card. But that's basically the only interaction you'll see on your opponent's turn, so it can't really go first. Staples do carry the deck, Lightning Storm, Dark Ruler No More, cards like that. You could even throw in like Forbidden Droplet and stuff. The cards do carry the deck, so it's really hard to be playing this deck without any of those staples. If you were just playing a pure build of this like with just Gaia the Fierce Knight cards, I don't think it would work. You can brick if you don't see an opening card like Gaia the Magical Knight, and if you're blanking on any of your starters, the deck will brick and you haven't got really a backup play. There's no backup play for this deck. The boss monsters are okay at best. Obviously there's one interruption. They have to be made going second. You can't really make them going first, so it's a little bit iffy, I think. There's no board presence. That's the same with the boss monsters. No board presence from any of the cards. Imperm feels horrendous in the deck. If you get impermed on Gaia the Magical Knight to get your Curse of Dragon out onto field, you're stuffed if you don't have fusion in hand. So it feels a little bit bad. That's the same with needing the first effect to go through. It just feels bad if you can't get that to go off, because then you're pretty much done for the game, because obviously they'll have a big board from going first usually. And if your opponent doesn't have monsters to OTK, well not OTK, if your opponent doesn't have monsters, you won't be able to OTK, because the whole point is that Spiral Fusion allows you to attack 2 monsters per turn, not attack twice per turn, so there's that little bit of neg there, so it pulls the deck back a little bit. But yeah, this has been Gaia the Fierce Knight deck profile 2021. Let me know what you guys think. I think the deck's okay at best. It's average. Staples and hand traps save a deck. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've built the deck and have a different idea of a build. I'd like to know. But yeah, we should be back later in the week with a updated UA profile, so ask for in the comments, and then we'll move on to our Dark Magician deck profile as well. But yeah, subscribe if you're not, guys, and I'll see you all later.